when you speak, when you're projecting and leaning into it, the microphone is good, the sound is good.
I've got it perhaps on my lapel right here.
Oh, it's right there? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty decent, yeah.
Okay.
You can hear it.
All right.
Okay.
Trying to get a little more professional.
Jai.
Jai. So thank you very much, dear devotees, for joining. Today it's our great joy and pleasure to welcome again to our channel His Grace Chaturatma Prabhu, who is also known as a family priest of many devotees around the world. He's globally famous for being a Maha Bhakta of Govardhanji. And today, being Govardhan Puja, it is immensely gratifying for us to have him on this show to talk about Govardhan. What more can we want in our life? So, without wasting any further seconds, I would like to pass it on to His Grace Chaturatma Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to get this opportunity to glorify my Ishtadev Shri Giriraj Maharaj. It's blessing and a fortune for me. And of course, with everyone getting to hear them, we all benefit from that. So as Madan Gopal said, let's start right away. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chaksuhun Militamya Tasmai Sri Guru Viramaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lam Jayate Girim Yakripa Tamaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinitarino Vanchakapaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bahevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Two very nice verses. We'll start with glorifying Govardhan. First of all, the Govardhan Pranan mantra, very beautiful one. Namaste Girirajaya Shri Govardhana Namane Asesha Klesha Nashaya Paramananda Dayine. My obeisances to the King of Mountains, who is known as Shri Govardhan. He destroys unlimited obstacles and bestows the highest bliss to the devotees. Two very important things for us. Destroys obstacles and bestows the highest bliss. Two things that each of us desire in our life. There's a second very nice prayer to Govardhan as well. Govardhan Giri Tubhyam Gopanam Sarvarakshaka Namaste Deva Rupaya Devanam Sukadayine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Giri Govardhan, who is the protector of the Brajabasis. He is the Lord himself and gives pleasure to all the demigods. Very important point there as well, that he is the protector of the Brajabasis. If we can just render our devotional service mood, or our mood in devotional service as Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya have taught us, in the mood of the Brajabasis, then we can expect and understand clearly that Krishna will protect us and Govardhan Hill will be our protector. This is what we want, is to be protected by him. So there are endless prayers by the Acharyas glorifying Govardhan. We could spend the entire class just reciting these prayers. Most notably, the 10-verse prayer of Das Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, glorifying Govardhan, and the 8-verse Ashtakam that is given to us by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. These are two very, very wonderful verses that many devotees know. And so many other acharyas have given so many verses. But I thought tonight I would take us in a different direction. The reality of this year that we're living in, of this particular time, is a mood of separation. The mood of separation is keen and essential to the practice of bhakti yoga. And this year has kind of honed that in our lives to a very strong degree. Particularly at this Kartik time, there are many, many of us that are feeling separation from being in Vrindavan. For the last 10 years or more, I've been in Vrindavan every year for Kartik. They're at Govardhan and serving and rendering activities there. And this year we're all separated. So this year, everything we do is virtual. So I thought, how nice would it be to do a Govardhan circumambulation this evening, to actually take the opportunity to visit the different places of Govardhan. Now, of course, we won't be able to visit them all. There are over 1,008 noted holy places on Govardhan Hill. So we don't have 1008 minutes, what to speak of 1008 hours to glorify each of these places. So what we will do is we'll go and visit different places that some particular pastimes are there. Some places more well-known than others, some not. And this way we can try and appreciate the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, Krishna and the Cowherd boys, Krishna and the Cowherd girls, and in this way stop and hopefully capture our mind, capture our heart, and capture our soul there at the lotus feet of Sri Giri Govardhan. And we've discussed already that when the Govardhan hill was lifted, both Kavi Karnapur and Jiva Goswami give a very beautiful description how underneath Govardhan hill was not mud and dirt and water and so much debris like that, but it was a pristine, jeweled city with all facilities waiting for the Brijbasis. And they had no worries during the time they were down there. So in this way, they were very comfortable. So may we also feel that kind of comfort and protection in taking shelter of Govardhan as we do this parikram. So get yourself settled, make yourself comfortable, get your focus of your thoughts. If you want to close your eyes and listen and that helps you, fine. But let's place ourselves in the mood of doing Govardhan parikram. Now, when Vaishnavas go to Govardhan hill, they generally start out according to the particular path that they're followed, the tradition they're in. And there are different ways. Sometimes devotees start at Manasi Ganga, taking darshan of Haridev. Mahaprabhu did like this, and then going around and coming back to there. Many devotees start at Ratnakund. They take bath in Ratnakund and then go and take the blessings of Kundeshwar Mahadev. There are different forms of Lord Shiva that protect the dhams. Bhaktivedanta Thakur speaks extensively about this. And at Ratnakund, there is Kundeshwar Mahadev, the protector of Ratnakund. And regularly devotees go and offer their respects there with the following prayer. Very, very nice prayer here. O he Kshetrapala Shive Tube Dumamoya, Krishna Bhakti Dehamoya Haida Shadaya. O Kshetrapala, Lord Shiva, protector of the Dham, you are certainly very merciful. Being kind to me, please give me love for Krishna. And with this prayer, devotees ask for the blessings of Lord Shiva to begin and successfully complete their Govardhan parikram. And then most of the time they end up back at Ratnakund and take another bath at the conclusion. Now, having gone to Kundeshwar Mahadev, sought his blessings, we will make one stop in Ratnakund before we go. And that will be at the Tongue of Govardhan. The Tongue of Govardhan is just behind the Radha Govinda temple, about halfway, maybe a third of the way around Ratnakund. There's a very interesting story about this. During his time, Raghunath Das Goswami, during his time in Vrindavan, he lived mostly at Govardhan for the bulk of the time he was in Vrindavan. And while he was there, he was reluctant to use the waters from Ratnakund for attending to bodily functions, answering the call of nature, brushing the teeth, things of this nature like that. This was not something he wanted to do. He had greater respect for Ratnakund. In a similar fashion, when devotees first approached Ratnakund in the early days, we were young, neophyte, and foolish, didn't know anything, diving off into the end, splashing, and like it was a big swimming hole. We were just having a wonderful old time. Prabhupada stopped us because we didn't know how to properly respect Ratnakund. Now, as we've matured, some understanding of the importance and the reverence of Ratnakund is there, and some understanding of how to properly bathe in Ratnakund with water on the head or just gently on the side, not turning it into a swimming festival. So this was the mood Das Goswami had. Now, during this time, he actually owned Ratnakund. He had the land deed in his name. And he instituted that Jiva Goswami would be more or less the manager of Ratnakund. Jiva Goswami saw to the improvements and building of different steps and things of this nature. So All of this is going on, and Das Goswami arranges for some of his own men to dig a well near Radhakund. And as they're digging the well, they see blood is coming up from the hole they're digging. Now, this is certainly not very auspicious at all. So they stopped, very concerned, and reported back to Das Goswami what was going on. So he said, all right, stop the digging. We'll look at this tomorrow, see what to do. So that night, Raghunath Das Goswami had a dream. And Giriraj himself manifested in that dream and said, this is my tongue that they have struck. This is where my tongue is buried. Have them excavate it and place it into a temple. Then you can continue with drilling for your well. So in this way, Raghunath Das Goswami did that. And to this day, if you go to this place just behind the Radha Govinda temple, there's beautiful, beautiful worship of the tongue of Govardhan. And devotees go and circumambulate this place. It's a very quiet, peaceful place. You can sit there and chant for hours on end. Very, very nice there. Very, very nice there. Interesting story I always like to tell about this. My son, who is now close to 40, when he was a young Gurukula boy, 5, 6 years old, the assignment was for them to draw a pastime of Govardhan Hill. And having heard this story from me several times, he decided to draw this. So we had the workers of Raghunath Das Goswami, the little dhotis on them, and he had the hole in the ground and red ink coming up, blood coming up like that. But because he was a New York boy, born and raised in New York City, the idea of digging a hole, all he ever knew was what he saw in the street, the workers with the jackhammers. So in his drawing, the workers of Raghunath Das Goswami all had jackhammers digging the hole. So this was such a wonderful picture. I have this laminated and keep it in my office to this day. So this is the tongue of Govardhan found there at Radhakund. So working our way back around Radhakund, we go a short distance through the city of Radhakund, and we depart there and begin on the sandy path. It's a very peaceful and quiet path, very nice to walk. And as we go there, we go a short distance and we come to Kusum Sarovara. Kusum Sarovara is one of the most beautiful landmarks of Govardhan, very photographed. Everyone knows what it looks like. It's always a beautiful site with these big, massive temples and the domes and the spires. This was established in 1764 by the king of Bharatpur. He wanted to mark this place. There are many, many pastimes of Radha and Krishna that take place here. Actually, it's a very, very ancient holy place. The great sage Ashtavakra Muni, he lived there and sat in deep meditation, waiting for the time when Radha and Krishna would make their appearance. Once Radha and Krishna appeared and had their pastimes, he then went into samadhi. And amongst the different buildings you'll find in this area is the samadhi of this Muni. So there's one beautiful pastime about the gardens of Kusum Sarovara. In previous times, there were massive gardens overflowing with all types of varieties of flowers. And Radha and the gopis would regularly go there to pick flowers. So we pick up our story there. One day they're in the forest of Kusum Sarovara picking the flowers in the gardens. Krishna stops them and Krishna says, hey, who are you there picking flowers? Who gave you permission? And Radharani replied, it is me. Don't you know who I am? Krishna then said, if I knew who you were, I wouldn't be asking. Radharani said, well, I don't care if you know me or not. We're picking flowers here, so who are you to bother us? Krishna then declared, I am the gardener. This forest belongs to Maharaj Kandarpaha, Cupid, and he is the king of it. And he has given me all powers over this forest as the gardener. So I must confiscate all of your flowers. And Radharani replied, she said, I know who you are. You are just a thief. You have captured the Maharaj's property, and now you're trying to capture the hearts of these young girls. Krishna said, no, you are the one that is a thief. Every limb of your body has stolen something. Your hands and soles of your feet have stolen the beauty of the lotus flower. Your gait has stolen the beauty of the elephant and the swans. Your nails have stolen the beauty of the mirrors. Your knees have stolen the beauty of golden balls. Your hips have stolen the beauty of banana trees. Your navel has stolen the beauty of a lake of nectar. Your teeth have stolen the beauty of a row of pearls. Your eyes have stolen the beauty of the eyes of deer. The folds in your stomach, ladies, you should note it's not a bad thing to have folds in your stomach. The folds in your stomach, they have stolen the beauty of the waves of the Jamuna. You have stolen all of these things. Radha then replied, oh, you are very clever. You are a great thief, and now you are acting like you are a saint and calling us thieves. You had to steal the clothes of all the gopis because even though you are prince, no one would give you their daughter in marriage. So you have not planted a single tree in this forest, and yet you call it yours. Vrinda Devi herself is in charge of all the forest, and she has planted all these, and she arranges to keep all these forests very clean. So she has given it as a gift to me. Did you not see the sign when you entered that says ladies only? What are you doing here? We are simply picking flowers for the worship of Lord Suryadev. How dare you enter here? If you do not leave us alone, I will call Lalita and she will tell you what for. At this point, Vishaka came and gathered all the girls and moved them on their way to the next forest. So this is one wonderful pastime that takes place here at Kusum Sarovara. Now, if we leave Kusum Sarovara and we go down the path, just a very short distance, not very long walk at all, we come to a famous forest called Shamkutira. Shamkutira means the dark forest. The reason it's called the dark forest was previously it was all tamal trees, very, very dark wood on the tamal trees, and it was very, very dense. So it was dark there. Literally, there was no sunlight going in. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati refers in the 1930-something parikram that was being done by him around Vrindavan. It's noted that from Vrindavan town all the way to Govardhan, one could not see a single bit of sunlight. There were so many trees. Now, all of you that have taken that route know there's practically not a tree to be found. So in this way, Shamkutira, the dark forest, is there. Now, this is a very, very beautiful place filled with cool breezes, very enlivening to be in there. Now, one time, another thing about it, this is the first place in our modern day where Govardhan begins to come up out of the ground, where you begin to see the different Govardhan Shilas. They're just starting to manifest. This is in the Shamkutira forest. Now, one time, Krishna and Balaram were there with some of the gopis, and that great demon, Sankachuta, came. Sankachuta, he mistook that Krishna and Balaram were just ordinary cowherd boys, and he was going to steal the gopis from them. What a rascal, to think that he could steal the gopis from Krishna and Balaram. Krishna and Balaram promptly picked up large logs to use as clubs and began to chase after him. The demon quickly realized his mistake and took off running. Krishna decided, I will take care of Sankachuta myself. Balaram, I'm putting all the gopis in your charge. Balaram was quite happy about this. So in this way, Krishna took off after the Sankachuta demon, and with this big limb, he crushed him. But before he did away with him, he stole the conch jewel that was in his turban, and he took that away from him. And when he returned back to Balaram and the gopis, he gave that as a present to Balaram. This is an amazing quality of Krishna, that if he takes something of great value, he doesn't necessarily keep it for himself. In this case, he gave it to Balaram. Here, this was what I got from Sankachuta, you can have it. So in this way, this was one of the pastimes that took place in Shamkutira. Now, deep into Shamkutira is a place called Ratnakund. And at Ratnakund, there's a raised dais, which previously had a throne on it, completely bedecked with all types of valuable jewels, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, pearls. And at this place is where Krishna, with a jeweled comb, combed the hair of Srimati Radharani. If you find this place in Shamkutira, it's very far off the main road, and it's recently been renovated, and it's a very nice, quiet place to sit and perform one's japa. So leaving Ratnakund, we take the sandy path through an area which the government is now working very hard to reforest, to plant more and more trees. And then we come back to the main path. Walking down this road for some distance, we eventually come to the town of Manasiganga. Manasiganga is a town, but within Manasiganga is the Manasiganga Lake. When Krishna killed the Vatsasura demon, the cowherd boys felt it appropriate for him to bathe in waters to purify himself, the Ganga particularly. Krishna had no interest to lead, so he called the Ganges to come by his mind, and she came. And Ganga personified came on the back of the crocodile. They say to this day there are crocodiles in Manasiganga. They are very rarely seen, but it is said that they're there. So in this way, Manasiganga was established. Now, in this time of Krishna's pastimes, there was actually a river, Manasiganga. So there's a wonderful pastime of this river here. And one time the gopis came to the banks of Manasiganga with their butter, their yogurt, their milk sweets, and they needed to get across to the markets on the other side. And they saw there was only one boat there. It was a rather old looking boat, and the boatman, who was sound asleep within the boat, was a very young boy. So they were not sure if this was going to be suitable, but looking around, they saw no other boat. So they woke the boy. "We need you to take us to the other side." He said, "Well, what can you pay?" And so the bartering went back and forth, and it was settled that he would receive some milk sweets and some yogurt. So they all got into the boat, and the boatman began to row them. And he got some distance out and declared, "Oh, there's too many people in this boat. I am very tired. You're going to have to pay me in advance some of this to give me some energy to finish rowing across Manasiganga." So rather reluctantly, they gave some milk sweets. "Oh, all right," and yogurt. And then he declared to them, I'm so tired, I need to get a little energized. One gopi massage one of my legs, one of you massage the other leg, and each of you take an arm, massage like that. So the gopis were not very excited about this, but they're in the middle of the water. So, all right, they massaged him. He said, "All right, now I'm ready." So he began to row some more. Rowing. About halfway across, he pointed out that there's a hole in this boat. And there is so much weight in the boat, the water is coming in. We're going to have to start throwing things overboard so that the boat doesn't sink. Throw your pots of yogurt first. The gopis put up quite a disagreement with this. They were taking these to the market, but they could see the water was coming through. All right, now your pots of ghee over the side. Now your milk sweets over the side. The boatman said, "This is just not enough." He said, "You're going to have to take all your jewelry off." So rather reluctantly, they began to take off their bangles, their earrings, their tiki, their nose rings, everything, and throwing it over. I guess there must be some great value of jewels at the bottom of the Manasiganga. So at any rate, they continued this way, and the boatman said, "This isn't enough. You need to take all of your clothes off and throw those over." At this point, the girls became quite indignant. They said, "Well, the weight of our clothes collectively is not as much as you, so why don't we throw you over?" And they grabbed an arm and a leg each and were going to throw them over. He said, all right, I'll row, I'll get us there quickly. So he began to row, and then a storm came in, a great fierce storm that caused great rocking of the boat. And the boatman, seeing this opportunity, began to rock the boat on his own additionally. Srimati Radharani became very afraid, and she threw herself around the neck of the boatman, clinging to him to be saved. And she suddenly felt something and realized that it was a flute, and that this boatman was none other than Krishna himself. So in this way, his secret being revealed, the storm subsided, and Krishna finished rowing the gopis across to the other side of the Manasiganga. So this is one beautiful pastime that takes place at Manasiganga. Manasiganga is also the place of Chaturatma. When Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, there was some concern as to the torrential, devastating rains that were being poured down upon Govardhan and what would happen with them. So it was arranged that Sudarshan Chakra would come and dry these rains up as they came down to the bottom of Govardhan Hill, which was being held by Krishna. Vashuki, the eternal serpent, had wrapped himself around the bottom of the hill and the water was pooling there. And in this way, Sudarshan Chakra dried it all up. Once the pastime was finished, the hill was put back down. Sudarshan Chakra wanted to stay. But of course, there is no real Sudarshan Chakra pastime in Krishna's Vrindavan Lila. So he resided on the side of Manasi Ganga, and that place is known as Chakratirtha. Now, at the time of the Goswamis, we all know the story of Sanatana Goswami going there and residing at Manasi Ganga to write, and the difficulty he found because of the mosquitoes, and Lord Shiva managing to make the mosquitoes go. This was because Lord Shiva resides in this place also as Chakaleshwar Mahadev, the protector of Govardhan Hill, another of the protectors of the Dham that Lord Shiva manifests at. So all of these places are there at Manasi Ganga. So if we leave Manasi Ganga and walk a very, very short distance, we find ourselves in the town of Govardhan. And making a right-hand turn, we go up towards Dangati. But as we approach Dangati, on the right-hand side is that wonderful place we all know, the Govardhan Sweet Shop. This is the best place to buy San Papri to offer to your Govardhan Shila. Many devotees buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kg and take it back home. And in the West, offer every day San Papri to their Govardhan Shila because this is the place. Many devotees, after the end of their parikram, adjourn to this place for their San Papri and their wonderful lassi, world famous. So just passing this sweet shop, not getting caught up there, just passing the sweet shop, we come to the main parikram marg going down Govardhan Hill. And at this point, you'll find many, many whole families doing their parikram. Many of them even doing Dandapat parikram. Mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, little children, all coming together doing this seva for going around Govardhan Hill. After walking down this path for some time, we come to the place of the Bhaktivedanta Ashram. The Bhaktivedanta Ashram, ISKCON property, is managed for some number of years by Keshava Bharati Swami. This was originally a property that was established by the Maharaj of Chatpur. And he had his residence there. And due to a very friendly relationship with Tamal Krishna Goswami, he turned this over to him. And it became an ISKCON property. When the Maharaj of Chatpur was living there, he had one very beautiful, dark Govardhan Shila that he worshipped, very nice size. And when the devotees of ISKCON took over this place, they had to dig a well to have some fresh water for the number of devotees living there. As they were digging this well, they came across an equally sized white Govardhan Shila. So it was understood this was Krishna and Balaram. And if you go to the Bhaktivedanta Ashram now, you'll see Krishna and Balaram are there sitting on the altar being worshipped very, very nicely. Now, if you go up to the top of the roof, it's a very, very beautiful sight. It is a large panoramic view of Govardhan Hill, all the way from the left, all the way to the right. And this darshan of Govardhan can be seen morning and night. A matter of fact, Keshava Bharati Swami is fond of saying, this place is where the darshan of Govardhan Hill is always there. The curtain never closes. Very beautiful place. So if we leave there from the Bhaktivedanta Ashram and go back out onto the parikram marg, we go for some short distance and we come to a cutoff through a gate. And this allows us to enter into the sandy path of Anayor. This is a wonderful place for taking one's parikram because the sand there is some almost ankle deep. And in the early, early morning, that sand is so cool and refreshing. It's so pleasurable to be walking in it and become invigorated by it. But the interesting thing about sand is that it's just that, sand. You don't really worry about cleaning it, but there are sweepers there daily that with their long brooms, they sweep this sand. They keep it clean and refreshed and always inviting for the pilgrims. And This is a place where one can very easily roll in the dust at Anayor and beg for great mercy from the Lord. Now, this Anayor area is where the ISKCON took place, where when Krishna appeared, those of you that have been following the lectures of His Holiness Indradumna Swami, his most recent lecture, The Deity on the Hill, goes into great and elaborate detail on this ISKCON ceremony that took place there. So you can listen to that for more detail, but this is the area it takes place. Almost 2 kilometers long, and during the time of this ISKCON offering, filled thousands and thousands and thousands of piles of chapatis and pots of rice and all types of sweets and sabjis and samosas and dals and everything you can imagine. We know that when this was offered, that Krishna appeared in his huge, gigantic form and ate all of these offerings. With his right hand, he was tasting the prasadam, and with his left hand, he was signaling, more, bring more, bring more. And Anayor, this is the phrase, Anayor, this is how that area got the name, Anayor. So eating with his right hand, bringing more with his left hand. And the residents, the cowherd men, they went and they cooked everything they had. They completely depleted their entire stockpile of grains and vegetables and everything. And they were still concerned what to do. Balaram came up with a solution. He told them, you take 1 tulsi leaf and 1 simple glass of water and place that there. And when they did, Krishna accepted that, and then he was fully satisfied. So this is a very, very wonderful path on your Govardhan Parakram. Long, quiet, off of the main road a bit, with a beautiful panoramic view. Many wonderful pictures of Govardhan Hill are taken from here and distributed all over the internet. And it's a very, very nice area. Now, once you get to the end of this area is the actual village of Anayor, and it nestles up against the base of Govardhan Hill. There is one path that goes that direction. There's a separate path that goes back along the main roadway out near Sankarshan-kund, but both of them end up at Govindakund. Now, the path closest to Govardhan Hill, when you walk that, you come to the actual place where Madhavendra Puri did his bhajan and found the deity of Gopal. That place is commemorated. There's a small temple there and a little site where Madhavendra Puri had his bhajan kutir. After that place, as I say, we come to Govindakund. Govindakund is a very, very wonderful, wonderful place. It is said that to receive a Govardhan Shila from Govindakund is the best place to receive a Govardhan Shila from. This is a place known as the Kund of Forgiveness. When Indra realized his mistake, when he understood what he had done, he wanted to make amends for that. So he went to Lord Brahma and asked Lord Brahma for some advice. Lord Brahma laughed at him. He said, you don't know the mistake I made with Krishna and the Cowherd Boys? I can't give you any advice. Well, I can give you one advice. Krishna is very fond of the cows. So if you put Surabi in front, then he may be disposed towards you. So in this way, Indra approached Krishna, putting Surabi cow in front and then Aravata. Surabi cow, when she approached Krishna, bathed Krishna with the milk coming from her udders. Airavata then bathed Krishna with the water coming from his celestial trunk, the celestial Ganga. After this Abhishek was performed and the water went down the separate sides of Govardhan Hill, forming Airavata Kund on one side and Govinda Kund on the other, then Indra, along with Brahma and the other demigods, came to worship Krishna. And it mentions that they brought their mothers with them. Who can be unhappy if your mother is present? So in this way, the worship went on. The Abhishek was performed, and then the incense and arti lamp were offered, flower garlands were given. And in this way, the worship by the demigods at Govindakund took place. Now, interestingly enough, just as this was all finishing up, the Cowherd Boys came on the scene. And from a distance, they saw these big men, and by big men, not just in position, but they were demigods, so quite large, performing this worship of Krishna. When the demigods finished, they left all the paraphernalia. They didn't take it with them, and they returned. So the cowherd boys came up and they began to imitate, waving sticks of incense, offering a lamp to Krishna, putting garlands on him that were there like this. They were enjoying this quite much. It was fun for them, like a boys' retreat or something. And at this point, Nanda and the senior cowherdmen came on the scene and saw this. So they inquired from the boys, "What are you doing? Where did all of this come from?" Madhu Mangala appointed himself the spokesman. He was, after all, the Brahmin. And he said, "We were here and we saw these big men. One of them had 4 heads and another of them had eyes all over his body. And they were worshiping Krishna and they left his paraphernalia. So we also decided to worship Krishna." In this way, Nanda Maharaj listened to Madhu Mangal. And at the point Madhu Mangal finished, a large, resounding voice echoed in the sky. "Just as we have inaugurated Krishna as the king of the cows, you should also inaugurate him as the king of Braj." So in this way, Nanda Maharaj understood this to be an auspicious statement. And they did just that. They inaugurated him as the king of Braj at that time. So all of this took place there. Wonderful, wonderful pastime with Nanda Maharaj, with the cowherd boys, all there at Govindakund. Govindakund is very, very beautiful and quiet also. It's a spot that many times we stop. There's a very beautiful raised dais there and have some different types of kata, and devotees can take some bath there, a little, on the head like that. It's a very, very peaceful and quiet place. Now, when we leave Govindakund, if we walk just a bit further, we come to a wonderful forest area. There's always been a forest area there, but in recent years, the Indian government has put a large effort into replanting so many trees there. And it's a very vibrant forest growing there now. And they have a forestry office there in the middle of this forest. The government officials are there and they oversee the watering and maintenance and everything that goes on. It's a very wonderful effort by them. And we continue past this ranger station, so to speak, and we come to an area where the different caves of Govardhan can be seen. I mentioned in a previous class that I had a great desire from my youth. I was one to explore caves when I was young. And I had a great desire to find out where the caves of Govardhan Hill were. We've always heard about these caves. I wanted to know. So I one time asked a local Baba through an interpreter, where do I find these caves? And he said, "Oh, yes, there are many caves. They're all on top of Govardhan Hill." And of course, I was crushed, knowing as a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I wasn't going to be climbing to the top of Govardhan Hill to visit these caves. Fortunately for all of us, Madhavananda Prabhu produced a very wonderful copy of his Krishnamrita I think 2 years ago. And it had one chapter in it about the caves of Govardhan. He had arranged for one local to take a camera and go up and take pictures of these caves. So this particular section of the Parikram path, if you know where to look, you can have pointed out to you these 7 particular caves. It's called Sapta Kandara, 7 caves of Govardhan, and they're up there. Some of the caves are quite small, 3, 4 people like that. Some of them are said to be large enough to hold up to 50 people. And one of them has a proper bricked entranceway right on the side of the hill there. So if you ever happen to be doing Govardhan Parikram with me, I'll be more than happy to point those places out to you. So after we pass these, we come down to the end of the first half of Govardhan Parikram, to the turnaround known as Punchari. We all know that Govardhan Hill has the shape of a peacock, Radhakund, Shamkund being the eyes and the head, and Punchari being the tail. Now, at this point, we can go to the left and proceed up to the Shringamundi. The Shringamundi sits on a bit of a hill, and it's quite a tall temple, 3-4 stories. And on top of it is a beautiful, beautiful garden, which one can see one of the most panoramic views of Govardhan you'll ever see. And in the early morning with the mist coming, it's just absolutely just stunning. Now that deity there, Nrsinga, is thousands of years old. And for a moderate donation to the pujari, he will lift up Nrsinga's dress and show you the deity has Hiranyakasipu on his lap, tearing him to shreds. Very wonderful place to stop. They're very kindly disposed towards ISKCON devotees there. Now, back to Pumchari, immediately making that turn is what in previous times was known as the Cowherd Boy Shortcut. As recently as the mid-'80s, that was all overgrown low forest, short trees with a lot of brush and everything, and you actually would bend down and crawl through, and it was a shortcut that the Cowherd Boys were known for taking, and it's closer to Govardhan Hill. In more recent years, they've torn all of those trees and shrubbery and everything out and planted a very comfortable brick path, and this is now the standard path that everyone goes when they turn Pumchari and begin up to the other side. And after a very short walk, we come to an area where we find the cave of Raghava Pandit. Raghava Pandit spent many years living at Govardhan, and he lived in one cave just near Pumchari. Excuse me. When Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivasacharya were staying in Vrindavan and went to Govardhan, Raghava Pandit took them around Govardhan and showed them all the different significant holy places, all the different wonderful places that were there. And so this cave of his is currently there. You can go and visit this cave, but going inside of it is not a very good idea because there are poisonous snakes that now live in that cave. So no one goes inside there anymore. Just after leaving this area, we come to the area known as Kadambavan. This is because there previously were unlimited numbers of Kadamba trees there. Kadamba trees are very dear to Krishna because the flowers are yellow and remind him of Srimati Radharani. And Kadamba trees are very dear to Radha because the bark is very dark and reminds her of Sri Krishna. So this area of Kadambavan is very, very peaceful and wonderful to walk through. At the beginning of Kadambavan, we have Aravattakund, we have different places there where are connected to the pastime at Govindakund because they're just on the opposite sides of the hill. But once one walks a bit further, it's very quiet and peaceful. There are large numbers of monkeys there. They're a little playful because there's still some trees that they have great fun playing with. And at this place in Kadambavan, it's mentioned that if one gets down and rolls in the sand at Kadambavan, then all of one's spiritual inhibitions are removed. So I'd like for us to take a moment, imagine ourselves standing there in the midst of this broad sandy path in the Kadambavan forest and this beautiful cooling sand. Now throw yourself down onto the ground in this sand and roll around, not with any concern for your dhoti or your kurta or your sari getting sand on it, because this is not dirt and sand. This is Govardhan Renu, the most valuable commodity in the entire universe. More valuable than a handful of diamonds is a handful of Govardhan Renu. So imagine yourself laying in that place, rolling back and forth, throwing the sand into the air, throwing the sand onto each other, and having just a joyful time there, letting all of your spiritual inhibitions go so that you can fully embrace the devotional path of Prema Bhakti. Now, we get up, we shake ourselves off, and we continue on our parikram. The next place that we see just ahead of us is the city of Jatipur. The city of Jatipur is completely devoted to the worship of Gopal, the original deity found by Madhavinda Puri. And there is one place there where daily, hour after hour after hour, liters upon liters of milk are poured directly onto the hill in his form as Gopal. And you have the local priests there that are very keen to entice you to come in and give some donation and take part in this pastime. And if you go in, and you will be very long caught there. It's very hard to get away. So better you very politely bow and continue on your parikram so you can make timely journey to the end of your distance. As we leave the city of Jatipur, we come to the next forest. This forest is known as Kamudhan. Kamudhan is very, very peaceful and quiet. It is much like the description Bhaktisiddhanta gives of the parikram in the 1930s. There's trees all throughout it still. And the path is, again, deep, cooling sand with trees joining overhead to give comforting, peaceful shade. It's filled with unlimited numbers of peacocks, unlimited numbers of cows, and very playful but not aggressive monkeys. And walking through this, one can see just to the right the whole hill of Govardhan. This is an area that is favored by His Holiness Sachinandana Swami to perform his Kartik Vrata of secluding himself in chanting. It's a good distance to travel and very, very refreshing to go there. Now, Kamudhan goes and finishes itself as it curves into the road again, right at the backside of the town of Govardhan. Now, the town of Govardhan is at this point going to be filled with hustle and bustle, car traffic, motor vehicles of all types and sizes, and so much going on, but we weave our way through all of this. There is a winding path that goes through the back roads and finishes up on the other side of the town of Govardhan. And there's a turn you can make just to the right, and this is the back entrance to Manasi Ganga and Chakaleshwar Mahadev. But we've already been to this place, so we will continue. And at this point, we see a long stretch of a road lying ahead of us. And to the right is a raised walkway that is also very comfortable sand. And we see Govardhan is quite some distance removed. There is actually 2 or 3 widths of fields between the walking path there and Govardhan Hill. And we follow this path for quite some time. There are no trees. There's not much shade. So you want to be sure that you've done your parikram early in the morning. Otherwise, at about 11 o'clock, this is almost unbearable. But the great gift at the end of this path is Uddhavakund. Uddhavakund is, for logistical purposes, on the backside of Kusum Sarovara. Matter of fact, there's an Uddhava temple at Kusum Sarovara, and Uddhavakund is just on the other side. You can actually see the two from one to the other because the size of Govardhan has shrunk so much over the years. But at Uddhavakund is the place where Uddhava desired, after being instructed by Krishna, to journey to Vrindavan and give his message to the Brijbasis, particularly the gopis. This is the place where Uddhava decided he would like to reside as a creeper. And as that creeper, have the hope that the Brijbasis would put their feet on his head as they walked through, and that he would be blessed by the dust from their feet. This creeper is called Golma Lata. This is a particular type of creeper that's found growing there and understood to be Narada Muni's desire. At Uddhavakund, there is a beautiful kund you can take bath in and refresh yourself. Very, very nice. And there's a wonderful pujari there, a local Brijbasi who's been there for many, many years, almost 40 years now he's resided there. His name is Giriraj Goswami. When Giriraj Goswami's father, who resided there before him, wanted to conceive Giriraj Goswami as a child, he did 1,100 parikrams of Govardhan Hill. And then Giriraj Goswami was conceived. So very special soul. He's very, very kindly disposed towards ISKCON devotees, and he has a wonderful, deep friendship with our own Indradumna Swami. And he likes to host devotees when they come there, knowing that they've just gone on this path and it's a refreshing stop. Many devotees stop there and take their breakfast that they've carried along with them, bathe in the Uddhavakund, and perform some kirtan for the deities there. After finishing at Uddhavakund and relaxing, rejuvenating ourselves, we go back out on the road and continue our parikram. A very short distance ahead, there's a beautiful Lakshmi Narayan temple on the right. And then a short distance after that, we cross over a small bridge which crosses the canal that is the entrance area to when we leave the town of Ratnakund on one side and go into the area of Govardhan itself. as we cross over this, we come to a fork in the road. One can take the right and join the road path that goes around the town of Ratnakund, or one can go to the left and take the walking path that goes into Ratnakund. Right at that junction, just when you go to the left, is a ladies' ashram. And these elderly Bengali ladies are very, very fond of appreciating the Western devotees when they come through. If you happen to be doing Dandavat Parakram, or if you happen to be doing Parakram with a group of devotees, they'll come and shower flower petals on you and give all kinds of praise. They're very appreciative. So we follow this path just a short distance more, and we find ourselves back at Ratnakund. Now is an ideal time to perform your final circumambulation of Ratnakund, and as many devotees do, Dandavat Parakram of Ratnakund. It doesn't take very long. It only takes about an hour. This brings us back to the place of Kundeshwar Mahadev, where we thank him for his blessings, allowing us to complete our Govardhan Parakram, and for giving us this opportunity to have this service to Sri Giriraj. Because we should always remember that doing Parakram of Govardhan Hill is not something we do for ourselves, but it's something we do as a service to Govardhan, as a form of worshiping him, as a form of serving him. So this is why it's not something you do once, but something you do time after time after time after time after time. So in this way, we've completed on Govardhan Puja the virtual Govardhan Parakram and stopped at a few of the holy places. We're approaching the top of the hour, which is my time limit here, so I'm going to finish there. Thank all of you very much for joining me, for giving me this opportunity to go with such saintly association as all of you on this Govardhan Parakram, and hope that in the near future, we'll all join together in person at Govardhan and all together joyously go around Govardhan Hill, rolling in the dust at all the different places and crying out with great love in our heart, Jai Giri Govardhan, Jai Giri Govardhan, Jai Giri Govardhan. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Turn this back over to
Jai Chaturatma Prabhu, Haribo. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for taking us so enthusiastically to Govardhan. And your enthusiasm and love for the Lord and for Govardhan is so contagious that we want to just hang out with you and keep getting infected over and over again.
Hey, Madan Gopal Prabhu, sorry, you're echoing a lot.
That is probably...
Maybe it's me. I'll turn my mute on for the moment.
Yeah, I think now it should be okay. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, but no echoes. Yes. No, it's the caves around Govardhan. You know, if you speak too loudly near them, then there's echoes. So yeah, thank you so much, Chaturatma Prabhu, for making our Govardhan Puja successful. It was a wonderful parikrama, wonderful meditation, and you took us right there. And it's all about the consciousness. You know, sometimes I think I should just be living in Vrindavan and just live by Govardhan, and that'll be the ideal thing to do. But then I remember that no, it's better to live in America and think of Govardhan than to live in Govardhan and think of America, you know. And so when we are in America here with wonderful saintly association like yourself, and you pluck our consciousness out of the materialism of daily life and all that stuff and take us straight into the heart of spiritual life, there's nothing better and sweeter than that. So thank you so much. This is Krishna consciousness. This is what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to be doing all the time, and you've made our life successful. His Holiness Jai Advaita Swami Maharaj also comments, super, he says. So thank you, Maharaj, for always being there for us.
Well, I could just interject here that this certainly is what we should be doing, and while doing it, we are so much indebted to Srila Prabhupada for giving us this realization, for introducing us to this process of Govardhan worship. I remember back my very first Govardhan Puja in 1973 in St. Louis. Little did we know that there was actually a Govardhan hill we could go to. And now, by Prabhupada's continued blessings through all the ages, we've been able to have this opportunity together to collectively share our enjoying going on Govardhan Parakram. Thank you very much.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And thank you. It's a perfect segue for what is to come. Because Srila Prabhupada is the one to whom we owe everything. So, and of course, on this upcoming Wednesday, we have the divine disappearance of Srila Prabhupada, the anniversary. And so, we have some wonderful devotees to lead us into this meditation of Srila Prabhupada. And of course, one day is not enough. So at least we have 3 days on this channel dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. So 3 stalwart sons of Srila Prabhupada will be leading us into this meditation, the divine glories of Srila Prabhupada. So on Tuesday evening, we have His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj at 8 p.m. And on Wednesday evening, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj right here in Towaco. And on Thursday evening, His Grace Shruta Kirti Prabhu. So it'll be a wonderful 3-day festival, remembering Srila Prabhupada and bring our consciousness of appreciation of Srila Prabhupada and all that He's given us. And thank you, Chaturatma Prabhu, for reminding us of that. So we are eagerly looking forward to keep our spiritual life abuzz with this nectarian topics and the flow of sweet juice to enliven our life. And so that is most of the week. So of course, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj is on our channel. And Monday and Friday, we'll be continuing the 2nd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the interactive sessions. And on Sunday, next Sunday, to round out the week, we have His Grace Gauranga Prabhu. So please be sure to tune in on this channel. And we look forward to seeing you all on this channel. And thank you very much again for coming, and thank you again, Chaturatma Prabhu, for this incredible blessing that you gave us. Hare Krishna.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Look forward to spending more time with all of you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Haribol. So if anyone would like to say a quick Haribol to Chaturatma Prabhu, we'll open it up for a few more seconds, and then we'll...
Haribol. Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. A wonderful class. Enjoy so much. Haribol.
Haribol. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaturatma Prabhu. Very nice class. Just like going to Govardhan Parikrama. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Chaturatma Prabhu. I have to say, I missed your class. I'll try to hear the recording, but I really caught the last part, and that's one of my dreams, to go on Govardhan Parikrama with you. So I hope
Me too.
be able to oblige and take us all around the guided tour of Govardhan one of these days.
Really. Jai Ho.
I think if you take a Govardhan Parikrama, when things open up, Chaturatma Prabhu, you might find a subscriber audience that is in the thousands from all over the world wanting to go on Parikrama with you. So
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Raj Govardhan Maharaj ki jai. Naveta Bhaktivedanta ki jai.
Jai.
Anande. Hari
Hari Hari.
Jai.